Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and as of today, at least on the NA servers, the actual pre-patch event should be available either right now as I'm making this video or most likely at a later time, because you know how these things go. It's a pre-patch event and it's going to be like that during the expansion itself, and it's all going to be delayed by a hair. But in this pre-patch event, we actually got also quite a lot of class changes. Now, we don't really know, and I guess we'll know by Wednesday, if these class changes are also going to be reflected into the beta, because there's quite a lot of things that have been added for the pre-patch, but most likely some, if not all of these, are also going to be added to the beta at some point. But let's take a look at some of the changes that Blizzard has done for pre-patch, because these could be just for pre-patch. Most likely will also be made into the beta. We don't really know until more information comes out, but let's take a look at the updates we have in the current version of the game right now, what's gotten buffed and what's gotten nerfed. To start off this list, we're going to go with the Druid. Feral Druid is just getting a flat 8% damage increase. So any of you guys that are trying to get into Feral for a big one-shots in PvP, enjoy this buff while it lasts, but I think this is mostly a PvE change for Ferals, since the spec itself has been kind of fairly well put together, but kind of lagging behind. Restoration Druids also have gotten their damage reduced by 5%. I mean, I've seen a lot of healers go for a more damage-oriented playstyle, and for Restoration Druids, have always had quite high damage for a healer, especially in Mythic Plus dungeons. But seeing this, it means that maybe Restoration is just maybe doing way too well. Maybe in PvP, it's way too self-reliant as a healer in order to do the damage it does. So it's a pretty good change if you're a Feral Druid, kind of a bad one if you are a Resto. Then we have the Hunters, where Beast Mastery is getting a change where all abilities except for Cobra Shot and Barb Shot, damage has been reduced by 5%. It looks like Beast Mastery Hunter is extremely good right now, and I've seen a lot of Beast Mastery Hunters do really well, especially while leveling. So maybe this is a change to kind of hit on the leveling side, the massive AoE cleave side, and then incredible single target damage that Beast Mastery sometimes do put out right now as a DPS dealer. Except, of course, for Cobra Shot and Barb Shot, which are part of the single target rotation. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see how this pans out. Marksmanship Hunters are not really getting nerfed, except for the talent of Volley, getting reduced its damage by 30%. Volley on its own, I think it's planned to be as an AoE ability, but maybe certain hunters were using it mostly for single target, and it's just so good in that row that you might as well just have Volley for everything. So maybe potentially this is what Blizzard is trying to do with Volley, even though it's a really cool ability overall. Mages also have gotten hit a little bit. We're starting with, first of all, Arcane Explosion damage has been reduced by 8%. Not just for Arcane Mages, but for all Mages. I guess maybe when enemies are so clumped together, press an Arcane Explosion, maybe as Frost, maybe as Fire. It's just way too lucrative. This is going to hit Arcane a little bit, but Arcane already had pretty good damage to begin with. I think this is what it's trying to do, is hit the other specs so they don't get nearly as crazy of a benefit when playing with Arcane Explosion. Then we also have quite a few nerfs for Frost. And Frost Mages, I hope you guys were enjoying yourselves, because Blizzard felt like there was fun detected. Splitting Iceland's damage to secondary target is reduced to 65% instead of 80%. This is only for Icelands, it doesn't mean Glacial Spike. Iceland's damage by itself, damage reduced by whole 10%. Freeze and Rain Blizzard damage increased. We do have one buff. Freeze and Rain's Blizzard damage increased by 60% instead of 50%, so 10% increase there. And then Comet Storm damage is increased by 5%. The towns themselves doing more damage, I think it's not a bad idea, but it's just how strong Splitting Ice and Icelands together have been, which is basically what most Frost Mages have been doing, is just spamming Icelands all day. You're not going to be able to do that nearly as much with near as much efficiency. While Windwalker Monk is a very fun playstyle, and I think their mastery is still super good, very enjoyable, Windwalkers definitely did need a little bit of help. So overall, the spec is getting its damage improved from all abilities by 5%. So hopefully this will make Windwalkers maybe feel a little bit better. I think for PvP this is going to be quite a nice buff, but for PvE I don't really know if it'll be enough. I think we'll still have to wait and see what Blizzard plans for Windwalkers for the beta update. Then we got a couple changes to Paladins. First of all, Crusader Strike mana cost is being reduced. I'm playing as a Holy Paladin, by the way, in the pre-patch, since I actually got to do a key as a Paladin. And by the way, Holy in Mythic Pluses seems super fun. I love the aggressive playstyle that it got offered. But the mana cost in Crusader Strike did seem like a lot because I was really running out of mana very, very quickly. Also, Shield of the Righteous damage reduced by 15%. This ability was doing quite a lot, and I can understand why Blizzard would do it, because they had Holy Paladins, Proud Paladins, actually blasting things in Mythic Plus dungeons with Shield of Righteous. Trust me, it's super fun and it's really easy to do, especially with the right set of talents, so I completely understand why Blizzard would end up nerfing this. Holy Shock healing is increased by 10%, which is kind of awesome. Word of Glory healing is increased by 9%, I'll take it. Glimmer of Light talent increased healing by 10%. The one buff that I would have loved to see for Holy, though, is AoE healing. There is another ability we get to use besides Word of Glory that spends Holy Power, but since barely anybody presses it, nobody remembers what it is. Light of Dawn is an ability that I was hoping that would get buffed, but it looks like Blizzard isn't going to be doing anything yet with it. We'll see if they maybe do an update in the future. For Protection Paladin passive armor bonus reduced to 10% was 20. Looks like Protection Paladins were a little bit ahead of everybody else. And as well as Word of Glory healing is increased by 9%, and healing when casting Word of Glory on yourself is reduced to 250% based on your missing health instead of 300. So if you felt like a one-man army as a Protection Paladin, you won't be able to do it nearly as effectively, but still, it's only like a 50% difference between 300% and 250. It's still going to be quite a significant change. And Retribution. Damage of all abilities increased by 4%, but Blizzard decided to adjust some of the talents. Execution Sentence no longer has a chance to critically strike, so being able to one-shot players with this ability is no longer, well, less of a possibility. I think you can still do some crazy damage with it. And the initial damage of this ability is reduced by 25%, so Paladins will have to work a little bit harder to build up more damage into Execution Sentence, but having it not crit should prevent it from being able to literally global players. Final Reckoning, the increased damage taken reduced to 35% instead of 50%, so when you're blasting someone with Final Reckoning, it's not going to be nearly as effective. Sanctified Breath, damage has been increased by 50%, a talent that I don't really see a lot of people use, so this is a good thing. Then we got Priest, mostly for discipline. Power Word Shield Absorb reduced by 8%. Shadow Word Pain damage reduced by 10%. Purge the Wicked talent damage reduced by 10%. Looks like somebody over at Blizzard just simply doesn't like Discipline Priests. For Restoration Shamans, Chain healing is reduced by 7%. Overall for general, but most of the time Restoration Shamans were the ones that ran with this one. As well as bonus damage for choosing Restoration Shaman specialization has been lowered to 15%. It used to be 40%. At level 37, this value comes back to 40%, mostly because Restoration Shamans were doing incredible damage inside of low-level dungeons. And as someone who played and leveled as a Restoration Shaman, I can attest to that. Then we get some changes to Warriors, and this will be the last class on this list. Arms Warrior, damage of all abilities increased by 6%. And Cleave talent no longer replaces Sweeping Strikes. Thank goodness. I always felt like Arms always felt great with Sweeping Strikes, and Cleave replacing Sweeping Strikes made you pretty good in 3+ targets, but really, really bad all of a sudden in 2. So I like this change. Arms definitely needed something. Fury Warrior, damage of all abilities increased by 10%, which is pretty good. Whirlwind, however, is going to hit for a little bit less when it comes to cleaving secondary targets. Blamestorm damage has been increased by 8%. Let's go. Huge fan of that one since not a lot of people play Bladestorm. And then Frenzy talent has been redesigned a bit. Haste reduced to 2% instead of 3%, but maximum stacks can be increased. So now you can get like, I think it's 8% haste instead of 9%, but it takes you a little bit longer to build up all the haste buffs. So that's going to be interesting to, I guess, slow down the playstyle of Fury just a hair. Interesting buffs and nerfs for the pre-patch. Kind of weird that Blizzard decided to do it right now. And I wonder if these are going to translate into the beta. I guess we'll find out this Wednesday. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. And I'll see all of you guys in another one.